Somewhere along the way, storytelling became something that felt a little intimidating. Something people imagine requires a special voice, a big imagination, or some kind of natural talent. I used to think storytelling meant sitting down with a carefully prepared story, remembering all of the details, and delivering it in a way that kept my child completely captivated. Something closer to performing, I guess. But what I've been discovering with my little one is that storytelling in family life doesn't really look like that at all. It looks much quieter, much simpler. And most of the time, it appears when I'm not trying to tell a story at all. Often it begins in the middle of something ordinary, while we're baking together, while we're playing outside, or while we're playing on the floor. Sometimes it starts with something he notices. A bird outside the window, a little snail in the garden, a toy animal sitting nearby. And almost without thinking, I'll say something like, "Once there was a little snail who lived under a big green leaf." And suddenly, we're inside a story. No planning, no preparation. Just a small moment of imagination woven into the day. I think one of the reasons storytelling feels intimidating to so many parents is that we imagine it has to be something special, something separate from everyday life. But children don't actually need that. They don't need complicated plots or dramatic voices. What they seem to love most are the simplest stories. Stories that feel familiar. Stories that repeat. Stories that move slowly and gently. The kinds of stories that grow out of the rhythms of the home. Sometimes our stories are about animals, a little rabbit hopping through the garden, a sleepy bear looking for a warm place to rest, an owl sitting in a tree watching everything happening. Sometimes they're about children, a small child waking up in the morning helping bake bread or going out to explore the forest. And sometimes they're about the very things happening in our day. A story about baking bread while we're baking bread. A story about the wind while we're outside feeling the wind and watching leaves float around. It doesn't have to be imaginative in a grand way. Often it's just noticing the magic that's already there. I've also noticed that my child seems to love hearing the same stories again and again. In fact, repetition seems to make stories even more special. There's something comforting about returning to the same little characters. In our case, Dudu, a little owl that sits in a tree and teaches us about the things that happen in the garden. The same simple journey, the same gentle ending. Sometimes my son will get out our props and ask about a story about little Dudu that we talked about the day before. And the story might change slightly each time, but the heart of it stays the same. And I think that familiarity is part of what makes storytelling feel so safe for children. In Waldorf education, storytelling is often seen as something deeply nourishing for a child's imagination. But what I've come to realise is that it doesn't have to be something formal or structured to hold that value. It can simply live inside the culture of our home. A small story told during play, a story whispered during quiet time, a story shared in the soft light before bedtime. little moments of imagination that slowly become part of family life. And when I think about it this way, storytelling starts to feel much less like something I need to learn, and much more like something that grows naturally as a parent, like all of the other parenting skills. The more time I spend with my child, the more I observe what he loves, the more easily stories begin to appear. Sometimes they begin because of a toy on the floor, sometimes because of something we see outside, and sometimes because of a question. Sometimes they appear simply because there is a quiet moment together. One of my favourite things about storytelling is that it slows this day down. In the middle of the busiest moments, stories bring softness. They create a little pause, a moment where imagination takes the lead instead of rushing on to the next task. And children seem to step into that space so naturally, listening, watching, often joining in, and sometimes just absorbing the atmosphere and our animation. In our home, storytelling has started to weave itself into many parts of the day. Sometimes it happens outside, sometimes while we cook, sometimes before rest, and sometimes it appears right in the middle of play. Not as something structured, just as a natural thread that moves through the rhythm of our days. And I think that's the most reassuring thing about storytelling. You don't need to know how to do it. You don't need to prepare anything. You don't need to be good at it. Children aren't looking for perfection. They're simply listening for warmth, for imagination, for connection. And those things already exist inside everyday family life. So if storytelling has ever felt like something you'd like to try, but you weren't quite sure where to begin, maybe the beginning is simply noticing the small moments when a story could appear. A toy animal, a bird outside the window, a walk through the garden, a quiet moment before rest. And from there, just letting the story unfold. Over time, these little stories begin to shape the atmosphere of our home. They become part of the rhythm of the day, something children grow up with, something they remember. And not because the stories were complicated, but because they were shared with warmth and presence. And that, I think, is the real beauty of storytelling in family life. It doesn't require anything special. It simply grows from being together. If storytelling is something you're curious about trying in your own home, I've put together a small free guide called Waldorf Storytelling for Toddlers. It shares a few gentle ideas for how stories can begin naturally with young children, even if you've never told a story before. You can find that link below. And as always, thank you for being here and for sharing this quiet corner of our family life with us. See you next week, friends.